You know, if you're an American, you have a right to be angry about how things are going in this country. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Don't let anybody tell you, your emotions don't matter or facts over feelings, because the truth is, the facts, well, they're far and few, few and far between, rather. And I'm not talking about the current administration here, so let's get that out of the way. This is a symptom of a larger problem that's been ongoing for decades. As U.S. education has been in decline, we've gone from first to 30 something, I believe, or maybe it was 17th. But I think it went up to, we were like, let's just say that we're around 20th and somewhere between 20th and 30th in like healthcare and education. And it's disgusting to me. And, I obviously am a liberal minded person. Anybody who watches my channel or, look, I've got long hair, I must be a liberal, right? Well, I surprised a lot of, I guess, left wing people when I share that I'm not left or right. I don't believe in this left and right bullshit paradigm. I think that they're all parroting the same bullshit back and forth. Do I think Democrats are generally, more favorable in their policies? Of course. But it doesn't mean they're not owned by the same corporate interests. They're all funded by Goldman Sachs. And, I have thought a lot about this country and what it means to be an American and to want to feel good about my country and know that we're trying. And when there's a major disaster somewhere, people complain about FEMA, people elsewhere who are typing on their computers about how there's no aid. The people who are there are just going out and helping each other. And this is what humans do. We help each other out in not just disasters, but local, people who get up on their days off and go down and feed the homeless or help people in shelters or counselors that help kids who have had addictions or trauma. These are the kind of people who make the world really go round. The people who really care about others and try. Just like the blue collar worker who gets up and goes to work, the guy who drives your garbage truck, the person at the counter at the grocery store when you go down there. And these are the people that make society run. These are the makers. And then we have the takers. And the takers are the multi-millionaire, multi-billionaires that drain the public funds in order to enrich their own coffers. And just by simply looking at the basic spreadsheets of how society is working right now, you can see that their wealth has increased by hundreds of billions, trillions, while the average person is still stuck at a fucking wage that resembles something from 50 years ago. You see, when you account for inflation, even when I was a kid, just when I was a kid, candy bars were like 30, 35 cents. They've like quadrupled, right? You look at everything else on the shelf, it's the exact same way. Everything has quadrupled. And has wage quadrupled? No, of course not. In fact, the federal minimum, I believe, is something still like $7.50. Absolutely preposterous. So, what gets me here is how we have these generally right-wing pundits complaining about welfare and how, people are taking advantage of food stamps. And this is their big argument about what's going wrong in this country, right? That we're wasting all this money on people who are just abusing it and buying things they shouldn't be buying. And I hear this argument, and then you look it up and you want to know how much is actually involved here. So I thought, corporate subsidies, the money that your taxes go to give to corporations like Tesla, like SpaceX, to do their own research or to make their own products, accounts for about $100 billion. The amount that's spent in food stamps is the same. So the amount that we give to the poorest of the country, which is averages about $211 a month, is keeping people alive and fed, is somehow comparable to these major, multi-billion-dollar subsidies that we're giving to multi-billion-dollar corporations. When you think about it, it makes the head spin. This resonates with the old, days of Reagan, the Reaganomics. idea that of this trickle down economy that we were told about. It's been an ongoing joke for years now. This because we were told, yeah, what you do is you give tax breaks and subsidies to the richest corporations, and then they're going to create more jobs. And maybe they do. Maybe they have a whole new branch and open up a whole bunch of new positions. So what happens? They hire tens of thousands of workers, and the workers are treated like shit. You hear stories about people pissing in bottles at Amazon, right? Should that happen at the richest fucking company? I don't know. Well, so the workers decide they want to unionize, something that all through U.S. history people have supported, especially even conservatives. You know, they've been for this. They want workers to have some power, or they claim, but this is back and forth between the left and the right politicians who make the claim they care about the workers, but they never really do, because these same people who lobby Congress to give them billions in subsidies then turn around and fire their workers who try to unionize, continue to pay their workers, meager salaries, or give them, bad work hours, whatever it might be. Some are happy. I mean, it's not like every worker is underpaid, but overall, the whole idea is to bring everybody up. If you don't bring everybody up in an economy, then nobody comes up on average. Here's the thing about these subsidies versus the food stamps I mentioned. For all the subsidies given to corporations, it gives them more money, and then they put more into stock buybacks. They said that if we actually just collected the taxes on just the corporations that haven't paid, just the ones that they owe, right? Not extra tax or a new tax bracket, but just the taxes that are owed, it would be enough to end poverty. Something like $200 billion a year. It's insane what we do with our money. And I won't even get into the military spending, but yes, healthcare costs a lot. Yes, feeding and helping people costs a lot, but it returns its investment. Because the thing I didn't mention is for every $1 that's spent on food stamps, it nets an average return of $63. You may be asking, how's that possible? It's possible because when people can't eat, when people are struggling to even survive, they don't work. They don't do anything. Now, it's the same way with healthcare. A person may be saying, well, this person doesn't work. They don't do anything. They don't contribute to society. Why should we, allow them to go to the doctor? How dare they get some healthcare and get themselves checked out? Because preventative healthcare saves trillions of dollars in labor costs from people missing work because they're sick or ill. A nation that is strong together builds together. And this is something that politicians can't seem to get through their thick ass heads, or don't want to. Because ultimately for them, it's not about how you're doing. It's about how they're doing and whether they can get reelected in 4 years and who's on their side. So no, they don't really care about your interests, and even if they do, they don't have the power to make a change because they don't want to, because their pockets are filled up by these people. And I definitely never want to make these things political, but like I said, I listen to pundits on both sides. I listen to the most extreme left-wing and right-wing voices because I'm forced to, because that seems to be the paradigm that people are caught in. But I listen to it with a very mixed opinions on both sides. But when the Fairness Doctrine was eliminated in the 80s with Reagan, I believe in 87, one of the first people to jump on. When the Fairness Doctrine said that media had to give equal time to both viewpoints of the topic. But once that was eliminated on the grounds of a lawsuit filed against the federal government on behalf of free speech of the media companies, which in retrospect I do agree with. It is a free speech issue. Unfortunately, it's one that it's kind of like a good faith thing that you should give a viewpoint, the other side, so people can hear an honest opinion. But once that was eliminated, the media just could go and say whatever they wanted. And this is where Fox and CNN split ways and started going, in opposite directions. But then there was Rush Limbaugh to cash in on it right away. He was the earliest, podcaster, if you will. And he really pushed a lot of bullshit narratives and division. And then today we've got guys like Steve Bannon, We've got the Matt Walshes of the world. This guy named Patrick Bet David with this Valuetainment channel, which I've watched. We've got Prager University. We've got Charlie Kirk. We've got Ben Shapiro. We've got Tucker Carlson. And look, I like Tucker in a certain way. I don't think he's a horrible person. But the kind of content that slips through in those discussions, I believe, can be more harmful than beneficial. It's more of the division clickbaity bullshit, which I can see right through, which makes it hard to even talk about, going down a list of, say, right-wing, then you've got the Cenk Uygurs or the Young Turks guys that are just the off the charts, just obscenely embarrassing to anybody who's left-leaning, right? And then you've got the Alex Jones of the world. You've got the Sean Hannitys, right? The people who make money off of just being intense and making everybody on the left look like they're insane. It's not good for us, people. It's not good for us. And as much as I could point the finger at the left, I do have to admit, they don't quite do that as often. There are some off-the-rails discussions, but most of the down-to-earth discussions I've heard that are rational. For example, I watch a channel called the Hoover Institution, or Hoover Institute. It's a generally conservative or right-leaning think tank. I mean, the opinions they have are, often quite conservative-minded, but they put it in such succinct terms and explain their points so well that even if I disagree with them, I respect the fact that they took the time to try to understand the other side of that. And they will be honest if it's like, well, this is better for my bottom line or the stock market, which gets us into economics and this idea that we're constantly told that the country's doing great because the stock market's doing great. Every fucking red-blooded, blue-collar American knows the stock market doesn't mean shit about how the workers are doing. This is said over and over and people don't believe it. I have a friend that argues with me about economics, says, look, the stock market's doing great. American economy is great. It's like, okay, so the American economy must not include the worker who's paying, well, the same price for a dozen eggs in some places as they are for an hour of work, which maybe that's what it should cost. I don't know. I know that a lot of these things like eggs, milk, certain vegetables, they're subsidized too, that we're always paying less than we could. Hamburger, chicken, right? These companies get billions of dollars in extra money to keep the prices affordable for people. We put ourselves in a trap now. And so instead of us looking with clear glasses and saying, this is what's going on, we're getting taken by these billionaires, we've let them slip into office and start playing with the numbers and believe what they're telling us. Now, regardless of who you voted for or what opinion, what side of the fence you're on, I think we can all agree that what really matters is how the Americans are doing. So if we don't start looking at each other again, start being rational and reasonable with one another, instead of fighting amongst ourselves about, who's the bad guy, and realize that we're all the good and bad guy, we're never going to get anywhere. And maybe that's what we want. Maybe we just want to fail. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe we're all accelerationists and we don't know it, which is the topic for my next video. But at any rate, thank you all for watching and listening. I'll talk to you next time. Be sure to leave a comment. Even if you disagree, that's even better, because I love a good discussion. We don't hate here. We don't attack each other. I've got a great crew of subscribers, and I love y'all. So, peace and love.
Oh, there we go.
Thanks for coming to Carlos channel, yo. Yeah.